Welcome, everybody. My name is Evan Lowe, and I am the VP of Communications from the University of Florida Association of Military Alumni. Today, we're hosting our first roundtable with some of the leaders in the Warrington School at the University of Florida. So, Naz, Shane, Houston, thank you for hopping on with us today. I'm just going to go around the room and introduce everybody and just kind of our different pieces of the pie here. So, Naz, start off with you.
Yeah, and thank you, Evan. And we're appreciative of everybody watching in live or later on. But I'm Dr. Naz Erenguc. I'm actually the Director of Admissions here at the Warrington College of Business MBA program. So I oversee our admissions for our executive online full-time and weekend part-time programs.
All right. Thank you, Shane.
All right. Thanks, Nas, and thanks, Evan. And hello, everyone joining us live, or as Nas said, that'll be joining us later. My name is Shane Deree. I'm the Director of the Student Experience here for the MBA program at UF's Warrington College of Business. And so in my role, I oversee three of our functional teams within the student experience. So pretty much anything that happens after somebody has worked with Nas and her team to get admitted, I oversee our campus engagement, student engagement, and signature events initiatives. So making sure everyone feels connected, engaged, and is building their network with other Gators and the Gator Alumni Network throughout their time here in the program.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. And finally, Houston.
Yep. So welcome everybody. So I'm Houston Bailey, Associate Director of Graduate Business Career Services. So basically a career coach for our MBAs here. Also a vet myself. So for everyone on the call, if you want to reach out and talk, about the military kind of transition type thing into business school, and then post MBA and those kind of things, would love to discuss. But yeah, my basic role is career coach for our MBA program at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Again, my name is Evan Lowe, and this is really an honor for me because I've been working with all three of you all as I'll be joining in person in a 2-year program for my MBA. So this is just kind of a cool full circle to come here and be able to start off our roundtable discussions that we plan to do with all the colleges with you all. So,
Evan, I thought we were interviewing you again. No?
I guess the first one wasn't quite good enough, so we're just double back and make sure y'all made the right decision. Uh, no, it was great, and so I guess that's kind of a good segue into the process of figuring out where you want to go to school, especially as a veteran or someone currently serving. It's a daunting task. There's a lot of information available out to you. Um, the online MBA program is ranked number 3 in the country in the most recent rankings from US News. What are some things about UF that separates itself from being especially good to that veteran population who's trying to navigate whether it's continuing their military career or transitioning into that civilian career?
Yeah, I think I'll take this, and I'm sure that Shane and Houston may add to this as well. But I think the really important part is first asking yourself, of course, what type of program experience do you want? And of course, I appreciate, Evan, how you highlighted our online MBA program. But I'll tell you, when one program is ranked, we see it as every program ranked, because you see Houston, you see Shane, you see me on this call today. We serve all of our students, whether they're a full-time student, as you're going to be entering your full-time experience, to an online executive or weekend part-time MBA. And so when you think about this MBA experience, I think it's really important to kind of first and foremost think about what makes sense for you based on where you are in life, what makes sense in terms of can you afford to quit your job and do a full-time MBA program, or are you looking to do an online because you need that higher level of flexibility? And of course, our online program is a phenomenal program, ranked number 3 amongst publics according to US News World Report. To your point, we not only have that ranking as a general MBA program ranking for our online format, but we are a top ranked military friendly MBA. And I think that all boils down to the fact that everybody that you see on this call, plus the additional, let's call it 20 other MBA staff, are all here to make this an enriching experience. We recognize that it is a daunting task to say, I want to pursue my MBA, whether you have a business undergraduate degree or this is the first time you're ever seeing a finance or accounting course. And so we are here to kind of make this process even easier. And so we have a phenomenal team. We have world-renowned faculty. We have a massive alumni base of over 500,000 Gators globally, all here to kind of cheer you on. And I think that's really what differentiates us and makes us so special.
Awesome. Shane, especially with the student experience, I know that, just in our few talks that I've already found a few that I pinpointed, like, yeah, I definitely want to be a part of those. What are some of those experiences? What does that look like? I know there's multiple different um, kind of subdivisions of those. What are some things that are offered to students, whether it's in the online, the in-person, professional, executive?
Yeah, that's a great question, Evan. And Naz did a great job alluding to this already, right? Is you're going to have a giant support system when you're here with us at Warrington and in the MBA program. But, for us, what we have identified is that for our MBA students specifically, you're all working towards the MBA. So when we think about kind of curating and building out this experience for our students, we look at the population of MBA students, and then we acknowledge that there's different formats, right? So the format kind of being the thing that we don't necessarily focus as much on because we're looking at the entire population of, let's say, about 900 students at any point in time, right? So we've got our online, our weekend part-time, we've got our executive, we've got our full-time across that and about 20 different cohorts. And we know that you're all working on an MBA. And so we kind of have what we like to call the buffet. And so there's a lot of different opportunities for our students to opt into to really kind of build out kind of their plate and make it look like what it is that they would want out of the experience. You're coming for the MBA, you've got the academic curriculum aligned with that. And so we check that box and then we say, well, what are the other things that we know our students are looking for? And so that's where you start to kind of explore the buffet and kind of fill your plate with those options. They look a little different for everybody, but when we look at the portfolio of programs, we know that they look the same. For our students, everybody starts with an in-person orientation because we firmly believe in kind of finding that sense of community, getting to know your cohort members and your support system that are on that journey with you, and the faculty and staff. So that's kind of your first initial required in-person touch point for everybody, including online students, right? If you're going to be in this online experience, you should know your classmates, you should know your faculty, and you should know who to go to. From there, we start to add in the other opportunities, and I'll list a few. That way, we're not here all day, but we've got opportunities in our signature events area. So, signature events, we've got our MBA summits, and so they happen a couple times throughout the year. They are about 2-day immersive experiences in different major markets. So we look at kind of our portfolio of individuals and we say, where do we have high density populations of current students and alumni, but also industry partners? And we put on our summit so that students can opt in to spend 2 days not only meeting with leading industry partners and learning what it's like to do business within that industry, but also to engage and connect with others that opt into that. So for example, when we were in Atlanta in February, we visited with Delta Airlines. The theme for that MBA summit was innovation in a competitive market. We met with some of their leadership to learn about what they're doing in the world of aviation to stand apart from, those that are also in the same industry and being competitive. But we also then spent additional time in professional development workshops, right? What can you do as a leader to be innovative? What can you do as an individual contributor to be innovative? How do you bring that to the table? How do you, rally everybody to cheerlead and get on board with those types of things? We have networking opportunities spread out within that as well. And so when we look at that, you get a little bit of an assortment of opportunity to not only add skill sets and to enhance what you're learning in the classroom, but also on different industries, but also to build rapport with colleagues from any of our other MBA program formats that may have been there that work in different industries and different markets that are bringing different ideas to the table. We have a conference series, our Insight series, where we put on kind of intensive-based, theme-based conferences for students to come together and alumni to come together to come together and attend different sessions and build out kind of their rapport and knowledge base based on different populations there. We have cross-cohort networking. So for us, we believe that if you're working on your MBA, you should know as many people as possible because you never know who you're going to meet. Could be your best friend, could also be your future boss, could be your future coworker. You never know, right? You may be looking for a job, you may not be looking for a job. And so we have pretty intentional cross cohort networking to provide students the opportunity to come together to network and engage and determine maybe what the outcome is going to look like for them. Is it just to connect with some new people, or is it pretty intentional? You found out that somebody that is in attendance works at the company that you're currently recruiting to work for. And so you want to intentionally build the connection with them and see what information they'd be able to share with you. So we kind of have a lot of different opportunities. All of those happen, like I said, in major markets across the US. They happen on campus, they happen online. So they happen everywhere to give students the chance to really maximize what it is that you're looking for and to only continue to add to this experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. One part I really like about that is talk about just the vast network that is available. I saw something 500 living alum over at UF, just as the overall college, not just at Warrington, but really in the business world. It is a lot of who you know, and being able to make those connections is something it's one of the things you can't learn it in a classroom, right? Being able to meet those people and make those connections, whether you want to stay local in Florida or whether you want to move out to, the Atlantas, Chicago's, New York's of the world, especially with many other competitive MBAs at, what were Ivy League schools and things like that. It's awesome just to have that awesome network to be able to rely on.
No, I agree. And you know what I'll add to that, Evan, is that, it never hurts to know too much, right? And you also never know where your career is going to take you. You never know the projects you could be put on. You never know the conversations you may enter. And so while, we find that there's all these opportunities that are based maybe at different industries or different topics, you do find that students are immersing themselves in as many things as they can, because especially, post MBA, as you continue to move up the ladder within organizations, or maybe you have this, desire to change industry one day, it never hurts to have as much information as you can, because it only allows you to contribute as much as possible within, your current space, or, the future space that you have your eyesight on in that career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's experience on their MBA side, or not MBA, their undergrad side, that maybe you thought you wanted to do one thing and you kind of pivoted one way. So maybe you wanted to get into marketing, but the more you look into maybe real estate's where I want to go, maybe it's something, one of the many other emphasis degrees that are offered through UF. So it's great just to kind of get your hands on all those different experiences and figure out what really fits you for the future. That way you don't start down a career path and maybe I didn't know about this and you want to pivot later. You have the ability to do it while you're still in school, which is a great opportunity for all students.
100%.
So, Houston, as someone who is a UF grad and now working at UF and a veteran, I feel like a lot of this is right up your alley. What is that experience like, going from student and going through your career in the military? How is it being back on campus working in a professional setting? And also, what does that relationship look like for people who may have been in your shoes, whether it's students who have already completed their service obligation, students who are still currently going through their service obligation, or just people who've completed it and they're looking for something on the professional side? What does that look like for you? Relationship with the veteran communities that are on campus, and what is that like from your experience?
Sure, and you have to remind me if I missed some of this, a little bit to unpack there. But I'll start off with my experience on campus right now. It's awesome. Like, I love being back. So I was here. I know not everyone on the call will know my background. Obviously, hopefully I get to meet everybody at some point. Undergrad here way back in the day, punched out, post 9/11, military guy, like a lot of our population, our generation, if you will. Came back here, finally finished out MBA 2015 here at UF. It's really cool to be back on campus and to just experience the atmosphere, the environment, just the vibe, the feeling you get. And especially within the same school that I went to. So, I put on presentations and whatever in classrooms that I was sitting in as an MBA myself, a decade ago now at this point. So I'm getting a little old. That's okay. But it's really cool. So just the vibe of working in academia is really cool. And just seeing, especially at the business school here, the level of enthusiasm of our students being back engaged with kind of that younger population is really, really cool, really interesting, and a really good learning environment for myself. So it's really cool to be back here at Warrington, at UF in general. I would say navigating the kind of transition for myself, I got lucky, to be honest. So, again, 9 years active, 15 total years. Um, I I knew the MBA was the right route for me because I wanted that kind of, broad, general experience, general and broad meaning in a good way, kind of education for me to go do what I wanted to do next. So I applied to one school and one school only for my MBA, and it was University of Florida in Warrington. I was lucky enough to get in, so came back here and pursued that path. So what I did was, post MBA, punched out. I went to a Fortune 100 company, worked in marketing strategy, IT modernization, all across the board for 6-7 years, right? So I got that experience. UF Warrington Career Services, I'll give us a little shout out to, did a great job for me, really helping me like decide, one, what I wanted to do, because a lot of folks coming out of the military might not know exactly like what's out there for them, what their skills match up to, kind of what jobs are available to them, those kind of things. So the guy who's sitting literally in the exact same seat as I'm sitting in today really helped me out with that. So I was lucky enough to get a internship at a big company between my years of the MBA program, and then lucky enough that I did well enough to get that return offer from that same company. So punched out and went to them. But without the services provided from the UF MBA program, I don't know what I would have done, to be honest. It's tricky, and that's what we're here for. That's what our team is here for. That's what myself and Naz and Shane are here for, right? To help everybody on this call and everybody in the MBA program as a whole, like figure out what the heck's out there, right? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What companies are looking for your skills, your talents, those kind of things. So again, hopefully I'm answering your questions, Evan. If not, please redirect me. But I think the team, when I was in the program myself, did a great job of really directing me, helping me, to Shane's point earlier, that the networking aspect's super key. You got to make those kind of connections and get people to be proponents of yourself and your skills and those kind of things. And that's what benefited me. Why I came back here, love this place. Like I said before, I want to come back, give back to the university, the college, the school that gave so much to me. I love it. This job is the best job I've ever had by far. It's cool to get to work with our candidates, our students every day, and kind of act as a mentor, if you will. I won't title myself that, but it's cool to interact and give guidance, suggestions, and just have really in-depth brainstorming sessions with our MBAs on like what they want to do, why they want to do it, how they can redirect their focus, and those kind of things. So yeah, overall, this place is magical. I say it all the time. Sounds cheesy, but it is. It's a real deal. We all know it. So what did I miss there, Evan? Sorry, I'm all over the board.
No, I think you hit pretty much all of it. I love that your career advisor is able to help you and build you up so that you were able to eventually, take over his role. It's a lot of what we do in the military, right? I train all my subordinates to be able to take my job one day, whether I have to go down. I'm currently on leave, so they can handle it so I can enjoy my leave, or whether, I have to PCS, or whether, I get promoted, whatever it is, you always got to prepare that next person to step in line. And it sounds like they definitely set you up for success, which is awesome. And just being able to help you figure out what people want in their career path. I know that I just hit my 10-year mark early this month. So I joke that I have 10 years to figure out who I want to be when I grow up. So I know that you and I will be certainly in a lot of contact, kind of feeling the waters there. I got 10 years left, but it's never too early to start, prepping the battlefield for, this is where I feel I'm going to be successful. And, maybe if it's not the exact company, certain niches, markets, things of that nature. So that's one thing that I look forward to working with you with, especially as a fellow veteran. That really is an awesome connection. And, just figuring out everything that there's available on campus. I know if we talked about all of the things available to the students, Shane would be talking probably till tomorrow. That's why we did split up our sessions for 3 different calls for the incoming students. But no, it's been great being a part of like the initial stage of the process and and knowing you previous to this and just how everything's kind of worked out for everybody. It's been awesome to watch. It is a magical place, right? That's how we all ended up going here, staying here, and wanting to be here as the ultimate goal. So I know a big option for those currently serving, but also those who've gotten out. We PCS typically every 3 to 5 years. So ending up in Florida or around Gainesville isn't always a reasonable option for some people. So online is a huge focus for us. I know when I got my first master's degree, I did it all online. The school was out of Missouri. I've never been to St. Louis a day in my life, but I have a degree out of a school in St. Louis, right? Because that's just kind of the military life. You live in one state, you have a degree in another, you have a driver's license in a different state, and a phone number area code to another state. So that's just kind of how we roll. What are some options available to those online students, especially the ones who are still actively serving? How are they able to kind of fit into those niches? Because some of them, they're not looking necessarily for the next step in job. They're kind of locked into their contract, whether it's another 2 years, 5 years, 10 years in some case. What are some things that are available to them, even if they're not able to be physically on campus in Gainesville?
Shane, do you want me to start with this one and then I'll let you kind of add?
I think that sounds great.
Okay. So as, an online student, we, to Shane's point, we assume that other than on-campus orientation, that everything else, will be done virtually. And so if you are picking up and moving, and you don't know how to predict the next, let's call it 16 or 12 months of your life, hey, that's okay. Like that, we have inherent flexibility. And actually, Evan, let me take a quick step back and give you a little bit of history and context about our online MBA program and the structure of it, because I think that could be really helpful. And so with our online program, there is a few things that we have implemented to ensure that there is high academic success with our students. So we, in fact, launched our online MBA program back in 1999. So we were a pioneer school in establishing this online program. Now, why I bring that up is we've now had, and I know that this is important for probably a lot of those who are listening, we have over 26 years of being able to create and execute in a highly ranked online program. And you're going to see that we continue to rank really well, not because we're sitting on our laurels, but because we are constantly hearing what, students want, what, employers want. We're trying to, seek industry leaders as well as academic leaders to be able to deliver, an experience that is really enriching, to Shane's point. Now, when we launched that online program back in 1999, no, it sounds cheesy, but we literally used to mail VHS tapes to our students. Today, we no longer do that, thankfully. I don't know who owns a VHS tape, or player. But, at the end of the day, the structure is such that we are an asynchronous program. What that means is that not all of your lectures, you don't have to be online on your course site at the same time every day. All of your lectures are pre-recorded, so you're able to asynchronously absorb your content and get through that course material in a timely manner that makes sense for you. The faculty, of course, will give you, guidelines as to what needs to be completed and when. You'll still have that structured semester. You still will come in with a group of about, let's call it 65 to 75 students, and you all will move together as a cohort. To Shane's point, it's really important that you feel like you're connected to people and connected to a program. It really helps build camaraderie. And I'll touch up on another point about that in a moment. But you join with your group, your peers, and you all have an ability to watch your lectures at your own pace and convenience. The faculty will give you strict deadlines of what needs to be completed and when. And then you basically kind of just move, right? Like you are responsible for doing your homework and watching your lectures, but basically we kind of ensure that as a group you're moving towards progressing towards your MBA, right? And that is really, really important because as people are in different time zones, as you are, getting deployed or coming back, whatever the case may be, we have this flexibility to work with you. And so being able to watch and absorb lectures at different time zones and different, speeds can be hugely beneficial. So, the program itself is either 16 months if you already have a business degree within the last 7 years, or it's 24 months if you're coming from any undergraduate major. So as I said, you don't have to have ever seen a single business course to be able to be successful in our MBA, because we start from scratch with our online 2-year program. Another great key differentiator with our online program is that it does start 3 times a year. We do have a fall, spring, and summer start. Now, why this is important, I think, for you all is that if for any reason you do get deployed and you're going to an area in which maybe you don't have secure internet or stable internet, hey, that's fine. We will gladly work with you to give you a pause in the program until you're able to return. And because we offer basically a new intake every semester, it allows for virtually no downtime. You're not going to have to sit and wait around for XYZ classes to go into cycle again before you can re-enroll. And so as little or as much as you kind of want to embrace this experience, we have that flexibility to allow you to do so. And the last 2 points that I'll make is, one, the average weekly time commitment is about 15 to 20 hours. So it is, a part-time commitment. We recognize that that isn't inconsequential, but it's something that we feel very strongly that if you kind of go with our prescribed methodology of our curriculum, that you will have success. So, with that, 15 to 20 hours a week, you have your cohort mates that will help you. But more specifically, you have clear direction and the support that we will be able to provide to ensure that you have a successful and positive MBA experience. And we're super thrilled that we have a graduation and a retention rate of over 90% in our online MBA program, which is unheard of when schools allow students to pick and choose which classes, or they self-pace, because at the end of the day, it doesn't do anybody any good if you're only a half-earned MBA. We want you to earn that degree.
Yeah, and it's the flexibility is such a huge thing. As somebody who got his first master's degree in Camp Humphrey, South Korea, absolutely. You might be on the other side of the world, right? And whether you're in a rapidly changing environment or whether you're in a little more of a lull in your operations, there is a time that you're able to dedicate those 15 to 20 hours typically. And if you're not, just the ability to put that pause to it is huge. I know that during my time, I was able to take a couple courses, and then I had to pull back a little bit during some different phases of my time over there. So, I mean, just speaking from a personal experience, that's huge. I'm in the UF online degree program for audience analytics through the CJC, and I mean, it's been a great experience there. Definitely explored the MBA online, but the Army's been kind enough to send me to Gainesville and get to see all you all in person. So there's no way I was denying that opportunity. But yeah, the online portion, especially for the military community, is huge. I can't emphasize enough how helpful that is to help us. Whether it's getting out and on the civilian side, or whether it's just creating better service members that are more knowledgeable and have more skills and more to be able to apply to whatever branch that they're in. It's huge. I encourage all of my soldiers right now that I'm in Army recruiting, we have a pretty normal schedule to a degree. I encourage all of them, seek that additional education, seek those opportunities. You have the ability to really expand your paths, whether it's in continued service or whether it's outside of it. And last thing here, the high retention rate. Can you expand on just some things that help the new grads and the alumni, and some of the things that help keep that high retention rate? And then I will go back over to you, Shane. I know we had you after Naz.
So I think when we talk about the high retention rate and successful graduation, really, I think that is 3 parts, right? That is our faculty and their availability and accessibility, so that when you have questions, that you can immediately have those questions addressed. And oftentimes, if we host virtual office hours, they have their TAs that will meet with our students. But it starts with the faculty, because they have to disseminate the information in an absorbable way. Coupled with that, you have your academic advisors that will help you in adjusting your academic plan if needed, right? If you need to extend or pause or whatnot. You have your of course, your classmates, your support, direct support network. But then kind of along those lines, what really I think stands out in kind of preparing our MBAs to be the business leaders that we know they are able to be and flourish in, regardless of whether that's kind of still in service or as they kind of go into the civilian side, is really, I'm going to kind of put these two faces, highlight Shane and Houston, right? It's the, one-on-one career coaching coupled with the professional development and the networking opportunities. And I think that what's really important is that we provide students the foundation and give them the resources for everything. So, and I would encourage Houston to touch on this, but basically as a student enrolls in the program, they have access to our career curriculum that they will, in essence, be able to download and have for life. So as an alum, you are able to kind of take some of the things that you've learned about what should be on your LinkedIn and resume building and things like that. And those are skills that, regardless of which, kind of industry you choose to kind of continue to pursue your career in, these are applicable. And so that with kind of Shane's team and the experience side of kind of taking a pulse on what it is that today's employers need, whether it be offering certifications in Scrum Master or Power BI or Tableau, that we're able to support all of that. And I think that the really important thing is it's laying the framework of being a business leader and the skill sets and the tools and the technology that keeps you that keeps you really kind of on that forefront of curiosity to continue to grow and expand, even if you're no longer enrolled in the actual program.
Yeah, and that's so huge, and like a 90% completion rate. I'm sure it's very easy once you have something come up in life and you slow down that tempo, whether it's a work thing or life or whatever, to be able to pick it back up and get back into those classes, keep with your core cohort, and keep that rate as high as it is. I mean, that's a huge shout out to the whole team and the faculty to keep that motivation high, because that I don't have any comparative numbers, but I'm sure that's certainly high ranking amongst online programs. Shay, I know you had some other things to add to that.
Yeah, I actually do, and I'm going to also lean on Houston in a minute as well, from a recent engagement we had. But the other thing too is, as you think about kind of the new grads and recent alumni aspect, and even alumni far out, one of the other areas within kind of our office that we have is our MBA alumni involvement team, and so that team is also working with all of our functional teams, whether it's with NAS and those that are kind of in the prospective stages, whether it's with my team in the student experience area, and even in career services, to identify alumni to engage with students. And so while you may be a recent grad, you're going to have opportunities to continue to engage with us as a program, really throughout the rest of your time as a Gator and forever. Whether that's coming to just a networking event in a major market, or whether that's working with Houston and maybe a current student who's looking to break into a new industry that you happen to maybe have transitioned to in that next chapter of your career, or to connecting with somebody who's still trying to figure out, will the online program be flexible enough for me with where I am currently in my military service. And so working, with the team collectively to try and help identify those folks, to really make sure that you feel as an individual set up for success, whether that's, coming into the program while you're in the program, or once you've left the program, and then continuing to feel connected, right? You may come into the program and you're doing the online program and you're continuing to fulfill those military duties and even after you graduate, but to know that there's going to be opportunities for you as an alum to engage in a networking event and in that market, once you do get ready to transition to civilian life, to start to build that network or pick up on building that network maybe where you left off, you're still going to have that opportunity, and that's going to continue. And you will, in cases, have opportunities to engage with Houston. I know maybe a couple weeks, maybe a week ago, could have been a month. Time's flying by when we're having fun these days. I had somebody reach out to me that was interested in some kind of career guidance as they, did the MBA. I think it was 10 years ago. and is now looking to make that transition and not even sure where to start. And so I did a connection to Houston about some of the resources that he could provide to that person who's now in that chapter. So Houston, perhaps you can talk a little bit about what that looks like when we have individuals who've transitioned a little bit later post-program, and they're coming back and being like, okay, now where do I start? The times have maybe changed a little bit. What should I do?
Sure. I think that's something we do a great job here at Warrington, is like knowing the different timelines of the veteran community specifically. Is like not everybody's punching out next year. Not everybody's, looking for a job 2 years after their MBA or 1 year after their MBA, whatever it is. Everyone's on a different timeline. I think what we do a really, really good job of sharing resources at proper times in the journey. So the most beneficial thing that I think from the career services perspective looks like for our MBAs, and especially for our vets MBAs, is having those close touch points. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier, is like you'll have direct access to your coach. Hopefully it's me for the foreseeable future. But you'll have, direct access. So one-on-ones, brainstorm sessions, um, intro meetings, resume reviews, all those little basics, but also just like you'll have access to myself or whoever's in the chair at the proper time to just talk. Hey, I'm getting out in 5 years. I'm looking to do XYZ. What should I be doing now? Right. So I think what we do here at Warrington that stands out across all of our peer colleague schools, whatever you want to call them, is we have that direct contact, small class sizes, direct touch points. You'll have access to a coach and to the MBA office and to the academic advisors, all those kind of things. So if you do come into, this MBA program, you're going to have direct access and get coaching and mentoring and those kind of things going forward. So, I think that's what we do best, is have that one-on-one, and it's good. We talked earlier about like adaptability, flexibility. We all know, everyone on the call kind of knows the importance of that. But that's also what we do as coaches and administrators and mentors and those kind of things, is we adapt to what you guys are looking to do going forward, and help you out with that. So the small class size, the direct touch points, the direct communication with coaches and administrators, I think that's what helps us kind of stand out.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I think just as humans, we all yearn for connection. So that small class size, and once a Gator, always a Gator. It doesn't matter that you're in this role for a few months and somebody who graduated 10 years ago is giving you a call. You're still able to help them out. We're taking care of each other. A huge network. We mentioned the 500,000 living alumni. We have the Welcome to the Gatorhood events. I mean, this is a very engaged and active community that we're all a part of and get to celebrate together, whether it's, in person, online. And I think it's great that y'all are able to do that.
Can I expand a little bit too? Because I think it's important for the community on this call. Like we talked about it a lot, the small community, the teams, those kind of things. I think that's important for the folks on this call today. Is we need that. You need that. It's important to be on those teams, those smaller groups, those smaller units, making those connections. I think it's very, very important to continue that in your transition from military to civilian life. And I think we do a really good job of making sure that, we have small groups, small teams. I think we kill it in that area. I think it's super, super important for this particular community. So something to keep in mind.
And to chime in on that, honestly, in Houston, you hit the nail on the head. I see Nas is nodding because I think we're on the same brainwave here. We usually are. Is that you do, right? So you have your cohort who you come into the program with, right? So you've kind of got that community, so you get to know that group. But that even actually narrows down a little bit too before it narrows up. So once you get into your cohort, and majority of your courses within the academic experience, you're going to be on teams as well. So a lot of times faculty will use Teams because it mirrors a lot of what we all do in our professional work environment, right? And so you'll work with usually 4, but no more than 5 team members throughout that. So you kind of get to narrow that funnel down a little bit smaller. So you've got that more immediate group of support with you on the journey, whether it's, needing support in the academic space and personal life things and just kind of having some regular questions. You move into your cohort, from there you move into the program as a whole, right? You've got about 900 current students. You move up into the MBA alumni community of, let's say about a little over 14,000. You move up to Warrington, over 90,000, and then we get to the Gator Nation at over 500,000, right? So your kind of funnel there can be about 5 direct individuals in your support system to help you academically, professionally, personally grow. And you've got that, and then it just kind of continues up. And so I think that's one of the great things too about the program, is that you're never going to be alone, both in all settings, in your academic settings, in your personal settings. You've got your support system here and the professional staff as well, right? You've got your dedicated academic advisor, who's that one person that you can always go to for those, whether you need to take a pause or you're not uncertain if you're going to, make it through the term. Or, we've got our student financials team who aids in assisting and working with the Office for Student Veteran Affairs with any, GI Bill, post 9/11, et cetera, that you may be part of your experience as well. And so you're never going to be alone. Your community is just going to have multiple options depending on where you are in that journey, and how many folks you may need to lean on to, feel supported or to make it through.
And actually, Shane, let me just quickly add to that, because for those listening in, just so you know, we talked about the cohort size, but I'll also add a little bit of additional flavor here that might be really pertinent to you, because you might be thinking, am I going to be the only person that is active duty or veteran status, like who will be enrolled in the program? And the answer is no. Usually, about 20% of our incoming groups, are active or veteran status, and so that's you're not going now. Maybe you're not going to have a shared experience with everybody from the exact same background as you, but I definitely think that it's really important to recognize that as being military friendly, that this goes I would say even beyond kind of just all of the support that we have to offer. It's a support that our students provide one another, and that in conjunction with our Office of Student and Veterans Affairs, that I think really provides not only support for you as a student beyond the MBA program, but for your family members. I know, Evan, you're coming to Gainesville with your family members. There are various support groups here for significant others and families to engage with others across not only the MBA program or the Warrington College of Business, but across campus. And I think that makes it an even richer opportunity.
And I pulled that data point for us in case those of us tuning in or those of us on the call were interested. So currently, right now to date, and mind you, we just graduated about 300 students this past weekend. We have 87 active duty / veteran military members in the MBA program alone. And so, you've got that network there, and that's, just here in the MBA program. That's not the college, that's not the university as well. And so, that's just always something to keep in mind. I know this is a funny comment. Yesterday, I was giving a tour. We have orientation going on, and individual is on leave. He's here, but he'll be going back to his duties after he finishes. And he was mentioning his story a little bit. I was like, we had a student a couple years ago who I remember working with. He's like, oh, yeah, so-and-so. He's great. And I was like, who would have thought that you would have, because it was about 5 years ago. And, again, that even just goes to show how close the military community is as well. And knowing somebody who had been through the program, and they had shared stories and were connected, and he had helped him, and I didn't connect them. And so they found each other. And so that's also awesome as well.
I'll add to that real quick, if you don't mind. Also, like our marketing department's doing a great job of like targeting military individuals to come into our MBA program. So I think that number, the 20% number, whatever it may be, might even increase. So I think there's going to be a growing, constant community here for military and vets at Warrington. So I think this is going to be a good place in the future as well to feel comfortable and make those deep connections. So I think we're doing a good job. I'll put us up against any peer colleague school for sure, as far as the military stuff goes. So yeah, we're working on future stuff too. So good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not the best person to talk on this, having a little bit of bias myself. But it was a pretty clear choice when looking at the comparisons. For me personally, that I had a vast amount of schools that were available to me. There was no financial cap, but just being able to take all the skills from here, this is an incredibly solid financial and academic choice for many people. But I didn't have the financial burden behind me because somebody else was paying for it. It made sense with everything that offers, whether it's through the student experience, whether it's through the veterans groups here on campus. I would say being in the military is one of those places where you automatically have a brotherhood, sisterhood, no matter where you go. I can meet a Vietnam vet that was in the Navy at the Dallas Fort Worth airport, and we have something to talk about. And that the only thing that even compares to that is, you see the Gator Nation, like 500,000 sounds huge. Like, how am I going to find a community in there? So I love the way, Shane, that you kind of broke it down into layers of, you have your cohort and your small teams, and then going into Warrington, and it builds down to that really small, intimate, personal level. And somehow with a school of 30,000 plus people, you can still feel like you have your own sub communities in your home. And that's a big thing that we're trying to do here with the Association of Military Alumni, is find that home for those, for the veterans, for supportive DoD, civilian, because we have a pretty large alumni network through the military, one of the largest employers in the nation, right? And so just being able to find a home that overlaps the Venn diagram of those two things, being a Gator and being part of that military community, has been awesome. Another keynote that's beneficial for military, being a yellow ribbon program is a huge thing for us. So the fact that you all have not only earned that designation, but have retained it for however many years, that's just an awesome piece to be able to have there. But it's not just the MBA program. Looked up, it's the number one bachelor's program for veterans, which is awesome, and that's not necessarily dipping into the Warrington experience. But how does, and this is probably going to be a trick question, how does the university itself foster the support for the military community? Because there's a lot of turnover in any job. Right now, we went from having a president to an interim president to maybe having a new president. We'll see what's happening there. But that shows that there is a layer of support. It doesn't just come from one person at the top. It's very much entrenched in the identity, the root, and the Gator brand. I would just love to pick each of your brains on where you think that kind of comes from. How does it live on past 1-2 individuals? How has it been so pertinent and relevant even today?
I'll take a stab at this first. So we have a strong tradition here at the University of Florida of Gators helping Gators. And that goes far beyond just our current students helping current students or alums, right? Every one of us, Houston, Shane, myself, we are in this role because we are here to support our students and our prospective students as they're embarking on this journey. And so we don't wake up one day and say, hey, let me just commit my life to higher education. It takes a special, it takes an individual who wants to be able to give back to this specific, student group. This energy that I think, I know, Houston, you talked about this at the beginning. The energy around this campus is just nothing like I've ever experienced before. And I think that true, that traditions around Gators helping Gators goes far beyond just the student population. And so, people may change, leaders may change, but the core of who we are, our core values as a Gator Nation, that does not change. And I think that goes as we think about, all of kind of every individual that helps a student here. We may change, we may retire, we may move, but we're all committed to that same core value. And I think actually, that is probably not dissimilar to many of, you all listening to this as you have, you are serving our country, and our role is to serve our students. And this is how we can serve our students, is by giving each and every student that opportunity to really excel and to be phenomenal brand ambassadors for years to come.
Yeah. And I'll just add too, I think I always love that saying. It gives me goosebumps every time Gators helping Gators. And what you'll find is that it very much is a community that cares. Nas, myself, Houston, we're Gators. And here we are helping Gators, right? We're future Gators, current Gators, alumni Gators, right? And that's very much rooted in that I think there's many of us, and not all, but there are many of us involved in the Gator Nation that have some sort of orange and blue in our blood, that make this something that we are all passionate about. Whether or not you went to school here or not, you have a direct tie and a direct love for everything that it is. And you see that in the leadership too. The leaders that come in, they come in because they believe and they feel a part of what it is that we're doing. And I think that those of us that know, we know, and those of us that don't know, you know instantly. It's very much a community that cares and that is here and invested in a mission, and it's everybody's involved in that for the exact same reason. At the end of the day, you're always going to be supported, and you're always going to have what it is that you need as an individual to hopefully be successful, and to always remember. There's one thing I always like to say is that, of course, you're here for your education, but there's the other part of this experience that is also about the friendships and the memories that you'll create that will last a lifetime. You may not always remember the equation in accounting, but you're always going to remember who was sitting there in the room with you when, you may not have 100% understood the concept behind whatever that equation may have been. And so, I think at the end of the day, it's remembering those things too, and that you'll always have somebody by your side to support you.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I know we got 5 minutes left here, or whatever it is, but Shane just said the word community. I said it before, like community, huge here. The Gator Nation thing is a real thing. It sounds cliche. Everybody's using it these days. The nation, it's a real thing here. The alumni network, the kind of family atmosphere of Gainesville. Everything in Gainesville revolves around University of Florida, as you can expect. Like Gator Nation, real thing. Community, real thing. Again, I'll reiterate it. I think it's super important, super impactful for this community on this call today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know there's just so many military-related success stories that have come out of UF in general. I know just two that are going to be on campus giving speeches at commissioning ceremonies, General Patrick Ryder and one of our future upcoming president, Mr. Kibbles. He's going to be speaking at the Naval ROTC graduation. So, I mean, it's just a rich history. The ROTC building, General James Van Fleet, named after him. It's one of those things that, you're right. People are going to change out. People change out in every job. They change out in the military, but the core values of this is what we stand for as Gators, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, etc. You have those values, and you find the people that fit those values. And the machine's got to keep turning, and we don't live forever, and we have different things that we want to pursue in life, and we got to make sure that those values stay strong. And so I one thing I've definitely noticed about the university is just a strong military supporting value, and you all have been invaluable already in my personal experience of coming into this program and working with me. I know there's some intricacies to being a military student coming in, whether it's Department of Defense forms and things of that nature and other requirements, but you all have been nothing but phenomenal. So from a personal standpoint, I want to say thank you for that. And just want to highlight, may have not been just individuals, but just a history and track record of success here. So what would each of you give as a parting shot recommendation? Anybody who's thinking about joining the program, what is that one thing that you would say is the best value proposition for UF, for Warrington, for the MBA, and why it makes sense for somebody who either served or is serving in uniform to give it a hard look?
Can I go first? I got one. You gotta embrace it. You gotta embrace it just like you embrace the military. Like I know a lot of us come out. Maybe I was the same way in my first year in the MBA program. You got to embrace like, hey, this is a new thing you're doing, whether it be online, if you're still active duty, whatever it is, right? You got to embrace it and take advantage of some of the opportunities that you have, whether it be student organizations, meeting with students that you might think are younger, less experienced, those kind of things. You got to embrace that. This is a new time in life. So my number one recommendation would be, this is a new phase, embrace it.
I never like to be that person, but Houston took the words right out of my mouth. And this is always something I'll say is take advantage of every opportunity. And that may sometimes come with, having to say no to something else or having to move around some things on the calendar. Of course, sometimes it may not be possible, but as you see the opportunities that are presented to you, take advantage of them. Be okay with the uncomfortable. You never know what you are going to take away from an opportunity, from an experience, from a conversation, whatever that may be. And so if you can make it work, because you do this experience once, and it could be your best friend, it could be your new job, it could be your spouse. We've seen that happen too. You never know what may come from this experience. And so if you can carve out the time, if you can move something around, if you need to take a pause so that you can maximize that to come back, have that conversation to take advantage. You will never regret it. That I can promise.
And I'll wrap it up with, even now as a prospective student, maximize the opportunities to connect with either myself or my team members. We do coffee chats, throughout the U.S. I am at a number of conferences, specifically military-focused conferences. So meet me on the road. Let's have coffee. If we can't have coffee in person, let's do it virtually. Join one of my virtual info sessions that I host weekly. But really, even as a prospective student, embrace the opportunities of starting this journey now with making those connections with myself and my team. And let's navigate which format works best for you. If it's the online, if it's the full-time, let's put you, in touch with some of our other current students who are either in your same branch, or if you want to make connections, with those who have transitioned out. This whole equation can most certainly, I encourage it to start with me. As the director of admissions, I am here to make this process a seamless one.
It's awesome. And y'all have definitely done that. Again, speaking from personal experience, so I appreciate everybody on this call. I know I asked a bunch of questions, but I want to open up to you all if there's any final parting thoughts, anything that I missed touching on that you believe is important for our listeners today.
I don't think so. I think, Evan, you knocked it out of the park, and you gave us all the opportunity to have the dialogue that we know would be beneficial for everyone joining us today. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it, Shane. Like I said, we've done a lot of calls where I'm on the other side of the talking, so I appreciated this role reversal today, and just really excited to see where UFAMA goes from here as we are finishing our first official inaugural year, and as we move forward. So I just want to say thank you all one more time for hopping on. And I'm Evan Lowe from the University Associated Military Alumni. Thanks for coming in.